We're back with Gamechanger. Yes, this is for FM20. We're heading to Greece, Panathinaikos. We've got HawkAndy's safe. We're going to take a look at it. He's asked for some help, and it's an interesting safe. My name is Daljit. Welcome to Bustthenet.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to stay in touch for more videos like this.
Gamechanger. This is a show where I jump into your safe. Sometimes there's not a lot to do. Sometimes there's a lot to do. It's not meant to be a critique. It's meant to, what if I were to manage the save? Well, how would I play it? What would I do different? Now, with this save, there are certain things that jumped and grabbed my attention straight away. Some saves, I don't do anything. In fact, I wonder why people send in their saves anyway. But here, I'm glad you have. I'm hoping that whatever insights I share can help you when you play your save. Gamechanger is a chance for me to jump into your save, approach it from my point of view. Right? It's not meant to be a criticism of the way people play. It's just meant to show you what would I do if I was playing this save. Now, when I looked at this save, I went, there's certain areas that need to be worked on. Sometimes I get saves where there's not a lot to do, but in this one, I think we have to kind of rein in the wild horses at the moment. Because we've got a few things that need to be addressed. First up, let's take a look at your training. Now, why am I starting with training? Because training impacts tactics, right? So you can create the world's best tactic, but if your training is shite, your game is shite. So here, when I'm looking at this, and I'm going, you've got a lot of these sessions in your calendar at the moment, but these sessions have a very heavy tactical familiarity element here, pressing intensity marking. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You can do it and there's no issue. But when I'm looking at the entire calendar and I'm asking myself, now, when do you decide if your players are going to start working on finishing? How can you tell? So I'm looking at this going, how can I tell if it's balanced? Right. So this is something that a lot of people don't think about. I like to keep it very simple, right? So if I'm going into a training schedule, I'll go into it and go like, okay, fine. I'll do defending, attacking, mentals, defending, attacking. That's it, and I keep it very simple. Now the thing here is this: don't overcomplicate training. To me, this is a bit of an overcomplication. You want to look at training as an organic way for you to work on your team and get them to develop in a way that suits your style of football. So you look at areas where your team is short and then you create schedules built around mitigating that. So when you're looking at this and I'm going, okay, fine, you've got a lot of general sessions, right? So here you got a lot of general sessions. You got a lot of general sessions here. So this transition press is not too bad because it's very focused, but you've got attacking wings, which is a general session. Then you've got defending, and I've got, you had this, and I changed it, right? You had a lot of defending engaged, defending disengaged, defending disengaged. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, why don't you have like, you had defending disengaged everywhere. So I went, why don't you do something like this, right? Remove this and do something more focused. So you got ground defense, aerial defense, defending wide, not necessary if you just do defending aerial, right? So you got aerial defense and ground defense. Now what you've done now is you remove the you're not using as many as the general sessions, right? So you don't even need this. You can go defending, aerial defense. Right, and if you're looking at improving the attacking, you want to get your attacking players working on training as well. Then you do defending from the front. So these are mental schedules, right? So these are all mentals. These are going to work: anticipation, concentration, decisions, position, teamwork, mentality with position, role, and duty. When do you know what to do? Basically, so if you look at this. Your familiarity, you've already reached tactical familiarity of passing, start, creative, freedom, pressing, intensity, and marking, tempo, width. All you need is position, role, and duty. Now when you go to your training here and you look at this, you got pressing, intensity, and marking. You don't need this anymore, right? So all you got to do is change all of these, change these three to aerial, right? So you can go aerial, or ground defense, and then drop these three. So when you're looking at your schedule, what you want to do is you want to be very, very careful about dropping in too many general sessions. You want to start looking at developing your team along a certain path line. Now, and then you want to keep things simple as well. Like, I personally like to just break it down to defending, attacking, and mentals. It's like damn easy. It makes the game so much more easier, because then I go, okay, I just need my when it comes to transition attributes for transitions, for example, that's just the same. It's like off the ball, anticipation, concentration, decisions, teamwork, right? This helps you. Passing will help as well. So if you're looking at this, transition it works on passing, tackling, anticipation, concentration, marking, position, and teamwork for the attacking unit, right? So this works on them trying to win the ball back and helping you move the ball quickly from defense to attack. Great, but do you need all this? Do you need attacking shadow play? This is like a very heavy, like no breaks session for the whole week. I'm like going, wow, this is a lot, right? So I probably like remove this and give it recovery or rest or whatever. Just give 1 day of rest. Then we look at this and I'm going, okay, this is too much. Okay, rest. So you've created one that works. This is a hardcore work on trying to win the ball back quickly, and you're working on balanced attribute development: first touch, passing, tackling, anticipation, aggression, decisions, teamwork, work rate between the attacking and the defensive unit, right? I like to keep things simple. I mean, it makes the game easier to manage. If I need my attacking unit to worry about scoring goals, I have a sessions for that. If I want my defending unit to worry on developing their defenses at the game, I worry about that. And I put mentals into one nice big category where I define it for the entire team and I say, okay, fine, all of you have to be good at this. So this is something that it's easier to do if you have a laid out plan. So in my opinion, you should go defending, attacking, mentals. Keeps it really simple. So and the beautiful thing about mentals is creating a mental schedule that generally has got everything inside there for position, role, and duty. So I've got one here called mentals F. This is a very simple schedule, right? Because it works on anticipation, composure, decisions off the ball, teamwork for the attacking unit. And then for the defending unit, it has the same thing: anticipation, concentration, decisions, position, teamwork. So I've got all the mentals being done. And this is the only time I double up on tactical, because tactical gives me even more of these mental attributes. Then we got play from the back and ball retention. So all these are mental. These all work on the mental attributes that a team needs to play a quick transitions game, for example. So you want to keep things simple so that when you go into training, if you need to ramp up attacking training, you know exactly what to do, right? If you're looking for goals, you want your strikers to get better at finishing, you ramp it up. So you add maybe 1 more week of that instead of creating multiple schedules, because I only have 5 schedules now in the game, right? I don't like the idea of creating multiple schedules that confuse me. So how do we know what attributes we want to be working on? Okay, generally, let's start with the defenders first, right? So defenders, we know positioning is damn important. Our positioning needs improvement, right? We're not the best, right? We also need to have concentration, anticipation. So we got anticipation also okay, just slightly above average, but we can do a lot better. 12, not going to make us a threat in Europe. And concentration, definitely a lot of work. So you got your 3 attributes. Now you got concentration, anticipation, and positioning. Work rate definitely could do with some improvement. Okay, so you got 4 attributes. Now you take the 4 attributes, then you go into your training session. Then what you do is you take all these, you create a defending unit. So this is for my defending unit. My defending unit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attributes. Then you go into your sessions. And then you pick the sessions that you need that will help you develop. Now, once you get tactical familiarity, those sessions that are very focused on developing attributes become important. Now, what if there isn't an attribute in that session? Then you look at individual focus training, right? So then you go to a specific player. Perhaps there's an attribute doesn't exist in the general team training, then what you want to do is look at a role that gives him those attributes. Or you want to look at individual focus training to ask him to work on a specific area of the game to work on certain attributes or enhance them. I love defensive positioning because, you know, if I were to look at one of my players here, a defender, for example, I could go to his training and go, okay, fine. His technique and his passing, yeah, this definitely requires, well, what is positioning? If I wanted to improve his positioning, I'll go defensive positioning, decisions, marking, and positioning to work on a specific area of his game. But at this point in time, passing is definitely not a bad option. Okay, it's because he's not too good. But what if we want to work on more than just this, right? Then here, he's in a playing position, right? This doesn't help you very much. Right? It doesn't tell what attributes are being worked on. What if we worked on then we get first touch, we get heading, we get marking, we get position. Now I know specifically which areas of the game he's going to be working on. So this is how you approach training. You know, you either leave general training to your ass man and you focus on individual training. Right? This is probably easier for most people, and I recommend this approach for the majority of people. And if you want to become good at training, you could use my schedules and keep things simple: defending, mentals, attacking, right? And then work on individual training. It's a lot more easier to manage training like this. Then all you got to do is ask yourself, okay, this week we need to do more attacking training because I need to, you know, I need to get my players into the scoring groove for a big game that's coming up. Yeah, so that can help as well. So this is something that you need to address. So keeping it simple should be the goal. Sometimes you're better off leaving it to the ass man. Otherwise, I find it's more important to be very on top of individual training. You gotta be on top of individual training. So let's take a look at one of your players, right? So this guy, he could be a very good wing back, but he needs to work on his acceleration so he can get away from players, right? So he's young, there's a lot of potential in him. So what do? Now, if I'm looking at his training, you've given him fullback on support training. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, fine, yeah, but this is very focused, it's simple, right? He's with the defensive unit, so you know that when it comes to whenever you do training, right, which impacts the defensive unit, he's going to get a lot of love from it. But if your defensive unit's training doesn't have any acceleration inside there, right, then you got to think about, okay, I've got to give him an additional training that includes acceleration. So in this particular case, there's no acceleration. It's not going to go up over time. So what we can do is I can go inside here and I can tell him to become a wing back now. Now, immediately, acceleration becomes part of his training cycle. Now, I can also double up on this and go quickness. So now acceleration gets a lot more punch in training. So while I have a whole set of general training sessions that may not include acceleration, now what I've done is I've gone into his specific training to tell him, okay, fine. While you train on aerial stuff like marking, positioning, the general things that come with your general training, you work on this too. This is his position, role, and duty training, right? So this is here, position, role, and duty. However, when you go to your training now, you got to make sure that you also include position, role, and duty, right? So that the player, there's general team training that involves position, role, and duty, so that their familiarity goes up. He starts, shooting up in this category as well. So these are areas of the game that you need to work on. Okay, we've looked at training, and that's taken me the better part of training has taken me the better part of almost 15 minutes. Okay, so now we're gonna look at tactics. Okay, now asymmetric tactic. I mean, I love the asymmetric as much as the next person does, but asymmetric tactics, you gotta understand something about asymmetric tactics. If you don't attack the space that you're creating, then you're gonna leave players out of transitions. Like, for example, this guy, you've got this entire tactic built up like that, right? So you obviously trying to create an overload on this side of the pitch. I mean, it's obvious that you're trying to do one on the left hand side of the pitch, but what are you doing that for? You have to unlock somewhere, right? You can't just create something. What you're gonna have now is a pressing forward who's completely isolated. The only time that this fullback gets into play is if you're camping the opponent's half, and by the time that happens, the defense is already defending. let's take a look at this game. You're using the same tactic. As you can see, what we're trying to do is, what we want to see is our side, okay, build play up on the left, right, and then hit teams down the right, right. So you've won the ball back. As you can see, your players are building the play up, but if you look at this, right, they are gonna struggle. If you look switch to 2D, there's nobody attacking the right flank. So what's gonna happen is, as you bring the ball up, your ball is gonna go backwards, right? The other team is gonna get into a position to defend, so this overload is not creating any chances. Look at this fullback, he's still here. So fullback has to stop, ball goes backwards, and then there's nothing left. You're not creating or attacking spaces. So this will continue to create problems for you on the transition. And it's something it was a common theme in a lot of your tactics. So here, while you may have created all this, nothing's happening here. So what could have been done to help this tactic out? Maybe this guy could have been an attack. This guy could have been a shadow striker, for example. Then you have options. You got inverted wingback coming through the middle here. Should this have been a roaming playmaker? Not necessarily. This guy could have been an attack duty. He could have been a Mazala on attack. You could have gone wider. You could have created space for this inverted wingback to come in and then become all kinds of annoying. You could have become a very annoying player. This wide midfielder could have been maybe even a winger, right? Fullback on attack. Yeah, the thing about asymmetric tactics, you gotta really think about how you want to work the spaces, right? At the moment, this tactic on its own, DLP at the back, who's he trying to find spaces for? You got 1 support, 2 support, 3 support duties. He's just playing TikTok football along with the roaming playmaker. So if you want them to exploit space on the other flank, there's nobody attacking the spaces on the other flank. The only way the spaces are going to be attacked on the other flank is probably if, let's assume, you could have created something a bit more different, right? Something even more simpler, like this, and you may even have a situation where this inverted wingback, the 3 of together, maybe even the 3 of them, this guy could have dropped into a support duty. Now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 creating an overload here. And they're all looking to create a space that's created by these 2 players now. You got an inverted winger running this way, you got a pressing forward, or you could have made life even more complicated, harder for the AI, right? This could have been a very simple way of attacking the spaces. See, when you want to attack spaces, you have a plan, right? You're building space up to attack a certain space. You could even have, sometimes you can even do stuff like this, right here. And then you can create a Mazala on attack, This is like one of those annoying systems that I guarantee you is going to be very annoying in FM20, right? So you've got inverted wing on support. Now what I have is I can opt to play with 2 Mazalas, this trio of players attacking through the middle, right? We can even drop this guy here. We can leave the winger here. Inverted wingback comes in here. This could also be another inverted wingback. Both these inverted wingbacks go into these 2 slots. The Mazalas go this way, and we got shadow striker. So in other words, you got players looking to unleash 3 attacking players from the center of the pitch to run at defenses from a higher position, and you've got these 2 guys just guarding the flanks, right? They might drop back, or you could even drop them into this position. Then you've got like a spear that's cutting through the middle. So these are all ways and means in which people can attack spaces. So now I'm taking over. We got Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, Panathinaikos. So I'm going to be playing a few of these matches. What do I do? Do I do anything different tactically? That's coming up. So we played a few matches. What did we discover? So we managed to beat Olympiacos 3-1. Then we beat Cork City. We beat PAOK 2-1 in Panathinaikos. Now the first one, this is interesting because we went strikeless. Yes, who says you can't play strikeless in this game? And essentially, there's something fundamentally challenging about your team. You got fullbacks who are not very good, right? They have get further forward. They've got very average first touch. So what I did was I just used them to hold positions and use the players in the middle. You got so many attacking midfielders, so many midfielders that can play the center. So these players, we ended up using them to create chances. So it was a pretty solid performance from your team, as your team we gave the ball to Olympiacos as much as we could, but we created so many good chances in and around the box that yeah, one could be forgiven for saying we have to work on creating goal scoring opportunities. So as you can see, this is Panathinaikos, our chances inside the box. This is Olympiacos, funnel wide, so they really only had one chance inside the central area of the box, whereas we created some pretty decent chances, and all of these landing to your attacking players. So not too bad. We managed to beat them 3-1. Second game, I decided, well, we're going to use something different, so we went a bit old school. We went with a 4-1-4, basically this was your own tactic, right? I used your tactic to create goal scoring chances. So the problem here is, this is when I discovered we might have a problem. You've got fullbacks who have got get further forward, or likes to get further forward all the time, and their first touch is not very good. And their concentration and mentals are not very good. On top of that, you got central midfielders who love to get further forward as well. So the moment any one flank decides to go further forward, you are going to be in trouble. So against PAOK, I decided to do something different, right? So here we used the 4-1-4-1. I made some changes, including removing player out of defense. Occasionally I just stopped using player out of defense completely, even change your goalkeeper to a defend duty, so that we could play effectively without losing the ball. And what I liked about the fact is we even got your striker to drop a bit deeper to create opportunities. So he drops deeper, he and allows us to find one ball to attack the space with your inverted wingers, and we managed to beat PAOK Athens 2-1 in this game. I wouldn't be too concerned about trying to win the possession battle. You want to create goal scoring chances. So finally in this match I decided, well, why don't we go strikeless? So I decided to use a strikeless system in this game as well. So we created a strikeless system for your team, specifically considering the fact that your fullbacks are giving you these issues. So what we did was, the system didn't do too badly. We created once again set pieces. We scored from set pieces, but this good movement on and off the ball, right? So your inverted winger coming in to score a goal, and we won this game easily 3-0. So what tactics did I use? So we started with this system is one I would use with your team. Minimizing the use of the split block, because you only use the split block if your boys can actually win the ball in the opposition half. So we went with an inverted winger, DLF on attack, inverted winger here, Mazzala, Carrerello, DLP. You can change this to a DM for some of your games if you choose to. We went on orthodox fullbacks on support. That's it. No, we're not trying to be too adventurous here. We also, when we regroup instead of counter press, you can't afford to counter press. Your boys just can't do the job, because at the moment these boys can't even bring the ball all the way up here successfully. So even if I were to overlap to bring them closer to your midfield transition, if you lose the ball here, these guys aren't fast enough to get back and help you defend. So it's a catch-22. So in the end, we minimized the use of TIs as well. So player defense was removed. In fact, I would also recommend that if your goalkeeper can't kick the ball, to remove this. In fact, after we took the 2-goal lead, I started doing this distribute over opposition defense. I didn't even bother with asking the keeper to play it out from the back. Even though he might, his passing, his kicking, his first touch, still not good enough. His first touch is only 8. His passing is only 7. His kicking is 12. So his passing isn't good enough. So even if he's to pass from the back, he might not find the players. So we went, okay, so this is not exactly, so it's not perfect, but this would be the best version of 4-1-2-3. Now, because your fullbacks aren't so good, I opted to try something a bit more different. Basically, here we have inverted wingbacks now. So these guys come into this hole, you create a 4, and then you gotta triple threat from the middle, attacking the spaces. So what we do is, because you have the players who get further forward from these positions, and some of them can score, right? You've got players like him who loves to beat players on and on. He's like the choo-choo train of trying to beat players, right? He's got a trait here. Likes to beat the man repeatedly. He won't give up. He just wants to get inside the box. And then we've got players who can play as shadow strikers as well. So he can also play as a shadow striker. In fact, you've got any number of your attackers can be shadow strikers or attacking midfielders in a position. Andre Pereira can be played in this system as well. So you've got so many players who can be played in this system, including Yatrudis, or whatever his name is, who moves into channels, gets forward whenever possible. So you got all these gets forward whenever possible. So I went, okay, fine, we can put one get forward. We can put one get forward here. You can put one get forward here. We got one shadow striker here. Hallelujah. You got a bunch of three. They're just going to punch through the middle. So you could play a strikeless system like this, which isn't a bad thing to do, because this guy's going to link play up pretty well. You can drop them into a 4-1-4-0, or you can drop them into a 4-1-2-3-0, or whatever you want to call this, 4-1-2-3-0. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so as far as the line of engagement, you can play with a higher line of engagement or much higher line of engagement, but your defensive line, you can be very careful with this. But because you have inverted wingbacks, you're going to transition quite effectively with a lot of passing options, right? So your players are going to get a lot of passing options down the flanks. We are playing with Mazzalas, with wingers, and Mazzalas and inverted wingers. So all these players, they're just going to keep finding options to pass the ball. Now Erasio also managed to score some goals for us now, because he loves to take people on. He moves into channels and he will just drive into the space looking to score goals. So this seemed like a pretty obvious option for me when I used your team. And mentality, I could go with balance, positive, balance, positive, even attacking. But most of the time, I'll default to positive. People ask me this question: why do I always like positive as a mentality? I call it, for me, it's the golden mean, right? It's the best mentality option in the whole game. It gives me plenty of options to go forward, get my quick transitions. It doesn't overcommit my players. I just watch my defensive line and who's playing at the back, making sure that my fullbacks are fast enough. So this is one option. Some people are going to find that this is going to create a lot of clear-cut chances. You are probably going to create a lot of clear-cut chances. So make sure that these guys can score goals. All three will. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to score goals for you, right? This is how I see the system working out. This system can grind you some results. You can also win some games. If teams are attacking you and you just want to depend on 2 players to get away, you can use this tactic. It's a lot more simpler. It's less complicated. And you'll be depending on teams attacking you. Now, we used this against Cork, and we found that we even had to regroup. We had to go counter press. Against weaker teams, you might end up doing that. But you're going to have to be very careful with how you use your defensive line. Now, your boys are not very good. So I wouldn't recommend changing these roles to wingbacks or fullbacks on attack, because they just can't cut it. They've got poor... They either have poor mentals, they have poor acceleration, or poor technicals. They got poor something, right? So they're quite bad in that regard. And on top of that, when you use a Mazzala here, this guy cannot go roaming. But both these players have get further forward as a trait. And I've removed sit narrow as well in the tactics. So we're not using sit narrow. So instead, we're using narrow width to focus the play through the middle. Here, though, your fullbacks... Yeah, you want to make sure that you don't have too many fullbacks who've got this, but some of your better fullbacks are walking around with this trait. So it was quite a challenge playing in this team. And on top of that, you've got some nice Mazzalas here who can get into the box and create all kinds of havoc. And they've got some nice traits. The problem is, in order for these guys to get a lot of good games under their belt, they need fullbacks behind them who can, put in a shift. And therein lies the problem, right? So it's either you use a DM here. In some of your matches, you probably end up using a DM, or you use this system with a DM, Mazzala, Carrillo, this combination by using a DM, right? Or against some other teams who are weaker, you might go with a DLP, right? If you want to have some fun and you want to use players in your team that you otherwise would not be able to use because, hey, you don't have strong defenders, then yeah, you could put Artrudi, you could put Milajovic here. You got your options with DLPs, and then you can stick this player into this position, and voila, you've got a very strong tactic where you're gonna get this guy scoring goals. In fact, I think he scored 2 or 3 goals for us, and it's great for you as well because you'll be able to flog some of your players off. Like, all of a sudden, people are gonna go, who the hell is Andreas Athanasakopoulos? Never heard of him, but there we go. You've created some player and you could sell him off for a tidy profit, and then after he sold off, you can start playing you through this into this position. Man, this is you'll be able to sell quite a few players and then use that to strengthen your fullback department. So that's the way I would be playing this game. Managing a side like Panathinaikos is always going to be a challenge, right? You've got to find ways to make money. You got to get big clubs interested in your players, and I think that is the reason why the 4-1-2-3 and the 4-1-2-3-0 make perfect sense, because you can use a strikerless system to develop players who would otherwise be, you be challenged with finding the right kind of tactical balance to use them because your fullbacks aren't good enough. So here, if you use a strikerless system, you might get they'll start goal scoring forms. You can sell them off for a bigger profit, and then use the money to strengthen your team. And then slowly develop your team, because right now your fullbacks are pretty weak, right? So you want to end up in a really strong position. It can be done, but it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to find a balance, and that's why I strongly recommend that you also focus some energy towards making sure training isn't you don't overcomplicate training too much. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Game Changers and you found it useful. If you have any questions, you know to find me. Look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You make this kind of shows possible for everybody else. You guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.